Yeah, I sing to my friends. What a wonderful song. Oh, yeah. Oh, glory. I haven't posted the link this morning. Let me do that while I'm thinking about it. Well, that was a little gift. Oh, now what I have to do is I have to cut that off the stream once it gets posted because it is it's not a strike, but it's a copyright. The Armstrong Foundation sits on that tune real heavily, and they don't want anybody using it without permission. So those of you who heard this are the only ones who will hear it. It'll be gone as soon as I can get on there and remove it and get rid of that strike. Well, good morning, everybody. Delighted to be with you. Happy to be with you, to be here again this morning. I've been considering dropping the Monday and Wednesday streams and just doing Friday and Sunday. And then I get on here and a bunch of people pop in and we start chatting, and it's just so friendly and such a delight that it reminds me of why I'm here and why I'm doing this. And it is a joy. It is absolutely a joy. I want to get, let's see. I want to get the stream up on YouTube. And then we'll check in on the chat and see who and what's here. Let's see, we got a gang in. How many people we have here? We have 20. Oh, Naresh is here. James Green. Fish and Tank Dicks. Let's see, who else? Roman Shirak. Scott Stankovich. Scott Stankovich. Jay Oliver. Hello, Jay Oliver. J Dog. Hello. Patricia Powers. Psychedelic Hippocampus. Nice to see you. 3G. Hello, 3G. Vanoksky. Hello, Vanoksky. Katrina Nenig. Hello, Katrina. Paul C. Tree 77. Well, that's quite a crowd. Emily Stevens and Mermaids Chorus. Hi, guys. And Rigo Silver. How can one get rid of blackbeard algae? Well, the best way to get rid of it is to enjoy it, because it doesn't hang around long. You may have it for a few months, but at the most, but it'll disappear. It'll go away all by itself. It's a fairly exotic phenomenon. It's an algae that depends heavily on a very high nitrate level. So you start doing water changes, get a lot more plants growing in there, it'll disappear. It's certainly not in any way a problem in the tank. Whatever it's growing on, if it's growing on plants, those are dead leaves that it's growing on. It doesn't really grow on live plants. Dead leaves are dying leaves. Rainer Trooper. Hello, Rainer. T-Bone. Hi, T-Bone. Nice to see you. Let's see. Right, you need to watch Rego, my video entitled "Algae is Your Bestie." It explains a really excuse me, interesting phenomenon about algae. Algae is not as how do I word this? Um, it's not as effective at absorbing nitrates as higher order plants are. And so you will only get it when there are excess nutrients in the water, or if you have no other plants, or very few other plants. So it will not outcompete. I guess that's the important issue. When you have algae, it is not outcompeting other plants. It's just that you do not have adequate other plants to keep it under control, because higher order plants will always outcompete algae. It takes over and becomes a slime problem when there are significantly excess nutrients in the water. So if you have it, there are two things you can do. You can do water changes, reduce that excess nutrient. You can add new plants, more plants, and you can stop overfeeding your fish, because ultimately that's what's causing the problem. Excess food that is turning into uneaten nutrition in the water column and throwing the tank out of balance. So stop feeding your fish and you'll be fine. J-Dog. I pulled the tubes from my under gravel filter. Let me hear this. I could read it here so I don't look like I'm looking across the room. And added 25 pounds of sand to my 29-gallon. I had so much mulm, it was clogging my underground filter. So should I have some really seeded sand in there now? You already do. If you want to put some on top, here's what I recommend. And it kind of leads us into this whole fungal thing. What you need to do at this stage, J-Dog. Now, J-Dog has a well-established tank. It's been up and operating for years. But he's had essentially gravel with an under gravel filter. So we got him to pull the tubes on the under gravel and to add sand to it. Now he's adding a little more sand. The next step in a new tank, and would certainly be helpful in your tank as well, J-Dog, is to get some humus in there. Now, humus is different from detritus. They're not the same thing. Detritus is waste product. Humus is decaying plant life, in particular, the leaves from trees. The leaves from trees comprise the primary food source for virtually all freshwater ecosystems. Let me say that again. The leaves from trees comprise the primary food source for virtually all freshwater ecosystems, especially streams, rivers, and creeks, especially flowing water. I was talking with a biologist the other day, the president of our club, Chris, about this very issue. I told him I had found a body of water that had 5.7 5.7, 5.8 pH of water here in Florida. And I told him I was very surprised about that. He said, "Oh, no, not at all." He has studied the parameters of the Peace River. Now, the Peace River runs essentially through the center of the state of Florida, west. It's westbound, and it deposits into the Gulf down around, I don't know where, Punta Gorda. No, not that far. Englewood. Yeah, down around Englewood, which is about 20 miles south of me. I've spent a lot of time on the Peace River. He said when he gets up above the tidal influence, because in that it's running into the water, the tide infiltrates into it up to a certain point, and it doesn't go further than that. In some cases, because there are weirs or dams. In other cases, simply because it just can't go further because the water is rushing out. When it gets up above that level of the tide, the pH drops to about 5.5. And he said the reason is very obvious. It is surface water. It is not going through any kind of carbonate system, and it is fed by the leaves of trees. Overarching the entire length of the river, except where it's been cut out, are trees hanging over it. And all of their leaves get deposited in there routinely, like once a year or more. Also, trees fall into it routinely. So there is an enormous amount of humus that goes into that riverbed. By and large, it settles on the bottom. It gets washed away, but it traps. It traps, it bends, it traps, it hangs. It traps where there are logs. It traps where there are pits in the bottom, fishing holes, if you will. It traps, and when it does, it begins to deteriorate, and it affects the pH of the water substantially, significantly. But it does one more thing than that, and that's really what I wanted to bring up today. It deteriorates, and in its deterioration, it feeds microfauna and microflora. It feeds microscopic plants and microscopic animals. Those then become the food foundation for larger microfauna and for small fish, crustacea, crayfish, crabs, whatever, snails, larger animals, which then become food for even larger animals. So the leaf is the foundation of the food chain. So what you need to do is bring some leaves in. Now, you can go out and collect leaves in the backyard and put them in there, and that'll be fine, but you'll be missing an important ingredient. And the important ingredient is what is breaking down the leaves, because they don't break down by themselves. They have to be broken down by external influences, okay? Otherwise, they just sit there. You put a leaf down in deep water, deep cold water, like in the steppes in Russia, and it'll sit there infinitely, forever, until it becomes just part of the earth. It will not deteriorate if there's nothing to break it down. So you need bacteria and you need fungus. The fungus and the bacteria break down the leaves. There are other little animals that chew the leaves up. Those chewers or choppers, or what's the word? There's a word that describes that action. They they get it down to small enough portions that that other animals can chew on it, that the fungus and the bacteria can break it down even further. So how do you do that? How do you get this fungus and bacteria? Well, you can depend on it to show up in the tank, and it will to some extent. Or you can heighten your chances of getting the right kind of fungus and bacteria by collecting leaf mulch, if you will, from bodies of water. Just go out and dig it up. Pick it up with your hands. Dip it out with a net. You saw me dipping some out in a video about the old man trying to keep from falling down. That's what I was after, was leaf mulch. Bring that back. If you're afraid to put it in your tank, put it in a jar, bowl, some kind of larger container, and let it sit outside for a while. You'll notice an enormous amount of life will begin to flourish in there, all of which is beneficial. Now, if you see a big dragonfly larvae, you know you want to take him out. But nymph larvae are fine. They don't go after anything much. They're a detritus eater. The dragonfly larvae are the big ones, and they just look like monsters, and they will catch fish and eat them. It's rare that you get one, but it can happen. And they're big enough to be able to see and be able to get rid of. They're not hard to get out and dip them out with a net pretty easily. But if you bring that in and put it in your tank, now don't throw 5 inches on top of your sand. Put a little bit in. You don't want to overwhelm the system. You can create a bacteria bloom that will take days more to straighten out. While I'm on the subject, if your water turns cloudy, if it turns white from excess nutrition, do 2 things. Number 1, do a water change. Not a major one. Do about a 25% water change. That's a lot, but do that. That's 1. Number 2, stop doing whatever caused the problem. Typically, it's overfeeding. Cannot stress this enough. The single most common cause of problems in a fish tank is excess food. It causes 99% of the problems that people have in their fish tanks. Stop doing it. You should never feed any kind of dried or prepared food. If you can find live food of any form at all. Baby brine shrimp, Daphne culture, green water, mosquito larvae, paramecium, anything that is alive, blackworm, is going to be vastly superior to any kind of prepared food. Now, you can feed a little occasionally. It's not really beneficial in any way more beneficial than live food. Oh, let me also include zucchini, spinach, and other vegetable matter. They provide additional humic substance to the water while also being food for animals like Plecostomus. So you feed from your refrigerator and from your outdoor pond. One should always have an outdoor pond. It doesn't have to be dug in the ground. It can be a tub, an outdoor tub, any kind of container that you can put outside that'll get some sunlight, that holds water, and you can seed. You don't have to because it'll seed itself, but if you seed it with some of that material that you collect from the creek or the stream or the river or pond, that'll kickstart it and allow it to have a much stronger, healthier microfauna and microculture. So you want to try to feed that. Figure out a way to do it. There are lots of options. Figure out a way to do it. Feed your fish live food, including vegetable matter. All right, let me back up a little bit. T-Bone here. When you collect wild fish and keep them, how long do you quarantine the fish for? Well, it's a really interesting question, T-Bone. Biggs was on recently and was talking about the vital importance of quarantining. I only quarantine when I see a problem, and I do get in trouble doing that. Undoubtedly, I get in trouble doing that. I'm a little less cautious probably than I really ought to be. It's simply my style. If you're going to quarantine, generally 2 weeks. If nothing shows up in 2 weeks, if the fish are eating well, they're healthy, they're happy in 2 weeks, there should not be a problem. So you can go ahead and introduce them at that point. Rohan is saying collecting leaves from flowing bodies of water is not easy. Now, keep in mind, Rohan lives in the Himalayas. So when he's talking about flowing bodies of water, he's not talking about the Mississippi River. He's talking about racing mountain rivers that are flowing at 100 miles an hour. And I dare say it'd be hard to do. Try a pond, Naresh. There should be some ponds around. Or you simply can do what I suggested. Collect some wild leaves. If you're going to collect leaves dry, put them in your outdoor pond, your outdoor tub. One should always have an outdoor tub. There are fish that love being outdoors through the spring, summer, and fall, and they will bless you with a herd of baby fish, a shoal, if you will, of baby fish. It's always good to have it, and this is a good reason for it, because you can get culture started that you can then bring into your aquarium. So here's the issue, folks. It's all a matter of increasing the biodiversity in your aquarium. Increasing the biodiversity in your aquarium. Why would you want to do that? Well, there are a couple of reasons. Number one, because it enforces a natural process. And that maybe is the most important reason. So what is the natural process? There was a note this morning from, I think, James, talking about his son. I don't know if I can go back and find it. Took a fish tank to college and was really enjoying, here it is, my son left his tank at home that is on view and cycling. It's interesting to see the environment change and send him updates at college. We're in the green water and algae bloom stage now. So that's really the point I wanted to make with this, is a tank will go, any body of water will go through a series of changes as it matures. We only think about the nitrate cycle. And the nitrate cycle is the simplest, quickest, and what we're most commonly aware, because it controls ammonia and allows us then to put fish in our tanks. But there are dozens and dozens of cycles that occur after that. In fact, the cycles sort of never change. You do reach a climax. The climax occurs when the body of water is sufficiently aged, sufficiently ancient, actually, that all of the available biology in the environment is occurring in that body of water. Then it achieves a kind of stability that allows it to maintain itself indefinitely. It's like an old growth forest which maintains itself at the level it finally has achieved. The oldest trees have become dominant, and lesser trees are at the periphery and in locations where the larger trees cannot survive. So it becomes an old growth forest. That means it's stable. It doesn't change anymore. It's achieved its full development. Same thing happens in your fish tank. It will achieve stability. Now, that's not to say it can't change. I have a tank here, for example, we've been talking about. This is like 40-gallon long. This tank is changing. It's going through some changes. I finally had figured out what it is, and it's occurred as a result of the water that I'm getting now, which is different from the water I had before. The water I had in my shop had a pH of 7.5 to 8.0. The water I'm using here has a pH of 6.5 to 7. And that's created some substantial differences in the tank. So I'm going through the process now of that tank rebalancing, creating its old growth stage sort of all over again, because there have been some basic fundamental changes to the tank. So I hope that's a little helpful. The stages are interesting. James is talking about green water and algae as a stage, and there is such a stage. It occurs generally if you don't have adequate higher order plant life in the tank. Then the green water and the algae will flourish in order to take up the available nutrition. A lot of higher order plants. That's really why I recommend loading the tank up at the beginning with fast growing, typically stem plants or floating plants, both of which will take nutrients out of the water column. So it helps to control that, which in turn controls algae. Thank you, Joshua. Shredders is the word I was looking for. Shredders are the little animals, which include crayfish, crabs, shrimp, and so forth, that cut the leaves into little pieces, the shredders. Scott Stankovich, I collected freshwater clams, dime size. That's good, and they will do well in your tank. There is a caveat. Brother Abernathy, who's on here under another name, which I never know. It lives on the East Coast around San Diego, the West Coast, and has been collecting tidal water and tidal creatures for his ocean in a bag seahorse tank, including wild food from those sources. In the process, he found some clams, and they were a little bigger. They were maybe 2 inches. He asked me about them. I told him do it carefully, because they have a tendency to die, and they're big enough to fill the water. That's a big, massive snot, of material, biological material that breaks down uniquely fast, deteriorates within a matter of hours, and can foul the water very quickly. So you do one, you don't do 2 or 3 or 4. The main issue with bivalves, clams, oysters, mussels, all of that sort of stuff, barnacles, is that they require nutrients in the water column, and the nutrients need to be they need to be microfauna and microflora. They need to be microscopic animal and microscopic plant life. They don't take nutrition directly out of the water. They won't take up nitrates the way plants do. They're an animal and they need to eat something a bit more substantial. Not that microfauna and microflora are substantial, but they are more so than dissolved nitrates. In any case, it's rare to have a water column in an aquarium adequate to feed such critters. Now, there are some clams, for example, that will burrow into the substrate, and they're actually able to feed on the substrate. So they're able to get adequate nutrition. I have actually had them spawn in my freshwater tanks. I'll go in and I'll start finding little tiny clams. And I know I didn't put them there. And I know I'll put a bigger clam in. So they will breed in your tank, but you got to be cautious about it. They can become a very serious problem. All right, let's see. pH will change throughout the year, Roman's saying. What is he referring to? Oh, tannins. It takes a full year for that leaf litter to break down. It doesn't break down instantly. It doesn't break down in a day or a week or a month. You can find leaf litter in a body of water from the year before. It rarely is at all. Now, I do have a pond, a very old pond that I work in. I find certain things in it I can't find elsewhere. Its substrate is black muck. And this is a really unique body of water. The black muck will break down leaves in about 6 months. I go there late summer, early fall, nothing. I was there last summer, nothing. Even where trees are hanging over it, dropping leaves in. So they can disintegrate them very quickly. It's rare and uncommon. In a flowing body of water, it takes upwards of a year. So you can still find them. And as a result, no, the pH doesn't change substantially through the year. Katrina, I need some leaves. Adding them cause tannins. It can. It does not always. It depends on the type of leaf. A hardwood leaf, like a catalpa or an oak leaf, can add tannins to the water. So, yeah, it can happen. You don't want to put so much in, though, that's going to happen. The tannin water that we see, well, tannin water here in Florida, in the Peace River, is a good case in point. It's heavily tannin water, very dark brown water, from the leaves falling in vast quantities. The few leaves you're going to put in your tank are not in and of themselves going to cause that water to become tannin, to turn brown, that is. A number of culprits of algae tend to be overfeeding. Okay. J-Dog, we did that. We did his. Oh, I'm way back. I need to get caught up here a little bit. Joshua Miller is saying, I'd be careful of the amount of catappa leaves used, especially if you have soft water. Almost crashed my pH by adding too much too fast. That can happen. Audra, hello, Audra. Nice to see you. Joshua Falah, good morning. There he is. T-Bone, when you collect wild fish, we did that. Rohan, sometimes it's the shape of the leaves in our mind that I'm after, but I end up seeing needle-shaped leaves. That's not impressive. Now, that's true. The needle-shaped leaves, if they've been in there long enough, they will desap. By the time they drop, there really isn't any sap left in them. So you can use, if that's all you can find, you can certainly use that. Again, go slow with it. Don't go crazy with it. Add a little pile of leaves, and then as it deteriorates, you can add more, and you can build it up. You can get more and more. Just go slow. Roman is asking T-Bones if he's thinking about going collecting. You really should, T-Bone. There are critters in your neck of the woods that are really remarkable aquarium fish and aquarium animals. T-Bone's saying I'd have to travel for hours. Maybe not. There are bodies of water everywhere. You don't have to go out to the country to find a pristine river. You can find little ponds or little catchment areas right in your community that will have everything you're looking for. Tam Shepherd, yeah. Tam has a neighbor who has catappa trees. So and I've been recommending to her that she collect them. So she's talked to her neighbor who was told her she can collect as many as she would like when they fall. She didn't want her to pull them off the tree. Well, that makes sense. So this is wonderful. So Tam is going to make up bags. I recommend it. She'll make up bags of 50 catappa leaves and sell them. You can sell them online. They'll go out real cheap because they're very light. They'll go out for the price of a postage stamp virtually. Might cost $1, but it really won't be bad. Oh, that's wonderful. Roman, thinking about talking to T-Bone, thinking about getting on a plane and coming to give you a hand with collecting. Now that would be delightful, wouldn't it? I'd love to let you in Australia right now. I think they've shut down in and out. Right. I think I've covered everything. Herbean, he lives in the wild. What are they talking about? Okay. I think I got it all. I don't see anything I've missed. All right. I've got glass boxes of enough critters to look at, but still want more. Well, there it is. Fish and tactics. Yep. It's multi-tank syndrome, MTS. It's a thing. It's a real thing. And what you realize is that each of these environments are different. You know, I've got 11, 12 here, and most of them are very different from the others. For example, this one's got a pretty low pH. This one has a slightly higher pH, but on balance, it's able to keep fish alive that this one won't keep alive in. So it's got puffers and bumblebee gobies in it, which that tank will not support. These tanks contain, it's much harder water, contains buffalo heads and some other things. I'm going to be getting some Tanganyika fish in this week, and they're going to go in these tanks. Already have a few in here and some West Africans, so they're going to do well in there. Down below are the saltwater, of course, they're very different, and I've deliberately made them different from each other. I've got these two tanks down here and these two tanks down here that I'm not doing anything with. I'm not happy with them, but I haven't figured out what to do with them. So I don't count them. This is a tank that has a siren in it, which prevents me from doing much of anything else I'd like to do. So there it sits, dirty and dingy, um, with a lot of tannins in the water, turtles, some larger cichlids. And then there's this little box sitting over in the corner that has pretty healthy fish in it. Not a lot of plants. I keep pulling the plants out to sell them. I need to get more plants in here. So you can see all different. And then that's a little saltwater tank I set up for seahorses and pipefish. So all very different environments. And that's why you have a lot of different tanks. Or you have species of fish that need to be kept separate because they're aggressive, or you want to be able to keep them in pairs in their own tank or whatever. Or guppies that you don't want to mix up the strains. I mean, there's so many variables that you wind up having more and more and more and more and more and more tanks. The Lucas syndrome, the multi-tank syndrome. Let's see. Roman is saying, good idea to put leaves in outdoor tubs to start the decaying process, Father Fish. I collected lots of oak leaves recently, crumbled them into my remaining tub right after the live stream. T-Bone, I've lived in my area my whole life, and there is nowhere to go collecting. Unfortunately, I know. Plenty of saltwater around me, but as far as fresh, I haven't found any near me. Oh, that's interesting. Well then, T-Bone, you need to start saltwater systems. Set up a saltwater tank. You will be absolutely stunned at the variety of invertebrates that are living in saltwater flats. Millions of different species around the world. It is astounding how many you can keep and how rich that environment can be. Now we got you. Now we got you. We're going to get you to set up a saltwater system. That's what this is. Very simple. I'll tell you what, T-Bone. Where is it? There, right there. There it is. That's as little and as easy as it gets. All I did was put some sand in there. All I had was green sand. Put sand in there, some plants, water. This is native water. You can get native water. And a few little inverts that I found. Threw them all in there. I'm feeding little tiny brine shrimp. If you get a fine mesh net, like a cloth net, you can run it through the water in a tide pool or up on the shoreline, like in an area where there are mangrove, like a mangrove swamp, and you'll get microfauna. You'll get little teeny tiny animals that you can put in your tank that the larger animals will feed on. Oh, we're going to have fun now with T-Bone. We got you. You let the cat out of the bag, T-Bone. Now you're in real trouble. Now you're going to have to set up a saltwater tank. And I don't want you to worry about it, and I don't want you to fret over it, because all you're going to do is go down to the water, collect some stuff, bring it back, and throw it in the tank. Start with some dirt. Get a little dirt, some sand, right out of the water. Bring it back and put it in the tank. Bring back a bucket of water, dump that in. Hook up any kind of filter, doesn't matter, anything or none. But you want some moving water. A little water pump, a little sponge filter, a box filter, a hang on the back, whatever you got. Hook it up and get the water moving. The next day, go back and start collecting little animals and put them in there. Also plants. Any plants you see floating around, bring them back and put them in. You're going to love it. I promise you're going to love it. It will change your life. Guaranteed. We got T-Bone now. Deborah, your turtles need a basking area. They do. I take them out periodically. But they do. Although these are aquatic turtles that do just fine. But I do take them out. Rainer, Roman is saying, Rainer, please take some guppies off my hands. T-Bone, stores in Australia don't stock saltwater systems. You don't need a saltwater system. All you need is a tank and a filter. And you collect everything else from the wild and put it in the tank. There's no such thing as a saltwater system. It's the same as a freshwater system. There's no difference. Don't let anybody sell you a bill of goods about how you've got to spend $1,000 to set up a saltwater tank. T-Bone is going to set up a saltwater tank that is going to cost a grand total of that much money. That much. $0. You can do it. You can do it. Rainer said, I live in Europe. You can't get to England. Oh, dear. Katrina said, I had a 110 salt and I miss it. Recently, I mentioned this yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Maybe, I don't remember. Friday, I think. One of the young men on our Discord channel contacted GARF, GARF.org. Look it up if you don't know what it is. GARF.org. It is a site that teaches setting up and sustaining natural saltwater systems. It's a massive website with a massive amount of material in it. In any case, he sent an email to Garth and got a letter back from Sally Joe, who's the owner. A long, beautiful letter. And out of that, we hope to be able to link up with her. Garth was the one of the primary sources for this channel and for my dirted substrate system. They've been doing deep substrate since 1995, saltwater. I adopted it to freshwater with the help of a local saltwater enthusiast who introduced me to them, Brian Green by name. So we're hoping to be able to get Sally Joe to come up and talk with us at some point. That would be wonderful. What else? A humongous fungus is among us, says Jason. Without fungus, now, I did have some pictures. This is kind of cool. I wanted to show you these. I went back and collected some, excuse me, some fungus pictures. So to see what was on the web. And this is the first one. Now, I guess that's fungus. Whatever it is, it ain't nice. It looks to me like what's happening to this fish is he has a bacterial infection on his, at his, how can I say this? Under his scales. And as it creates dead material, fungus begins to grow. Now, I don't know that that's fungus. It may well be. But fungus follows bacteria. Fungus does not feed on live material. It feeds on dead material. So the bacteria break down the flesh of the fish, and the fungus feed on that waste from the bacteria. So there's what the industry thinks of when they think of fungus in your tank. This, on the other hand, I frankly don't know what this is. They said it was fungus. That looks like worms to me, but maybe it's some kind of plant. I don't know. Can't tell. There's some hair algae behind it, I see. And it looks like there's some fungus on the, this is a piece of driftwood. What those things are, I don't know. And this is fungus. By golly, it's fungus on the bottom of what looks like a gravel substrate, which is producing enough waste that the fungus is attacking the waste. So that's really what you're looking for. Now, by putting the leaves in, it's going to attack those leaves and break them down. That's what the fungus is doing. It's breaking it down. This is not a bad thing. Fungus in the tank is not a bad thing. It actually is a good thing. Fungus is not hurting anything. It's not killing anything. Even when it's on the fish, it's not killing the fish. The bacteria is what's killing the fish. So you don't want it on the fish because you don't want the bacteria on the fish. So you treat for bacteria, you don't treat for fungus. Not that there's a fungus treatment anyway. Any fungicide you find is actually a bactericide. Or what's worse, it's an algicide. What is sold as fungicide is either an algicide or a bactericide. There's no such thing as a fungicide. Fungus feeds on dead material. Plants don't. They feed, well, they do, don't they? But they don't. They don't feed on, you don't get a tree growing out of a dead possum. It has to break down and deteriorate. So the bacteria need to break it down. The fungus need to break it down. They need to turn it into nutrition, bring it down to its base element in order for it to be able to, in order for plants or other animals for that matter, to be able, well, that's not true about animals. Animals eat flesh. Plants eat elemental materials. I'm twisting myself in knots here. All right, enough of this silliness. Where are we at? We got about 10 minutes. Let's see. Let's see what we got left here. Oh, Roman is going to send T-Bone $0 via PayPal. Bravo. And he's saying Roman T-Bone doesn't have $0. Well, that's a good idea. I think we got that dealt with. I think Father Fish, FISCH, would surely find someone who wants to have some what? Fungus? I don't know. Psychedelic Hippocampus is taking off. Nice to have you with us this morning. It's been a while. Happy to see you. Roman Chirac. I think I need a larger predator. Eat up all those guppies. Well, that's true. That's what people keep ostriches for. T-Bone. Our waterways are protected areas. Not sure I could. Australia is very strict with conservation and wildlife. We have a lot of sanctuary with some awesome species of fish. Call the fisheries department, T-Bone. Ask them if you can collect mud, dirt, and invertebrates from your local waterway. Just ask. Tell them you want to keep it in the fish tank and study it. Find out. Don't just act like it's okay. Don't act like it's okay just to live under, like a sheep under absolute authority. Find out what the authority really is so you can have a life and get out and do something. This would be wonderful for you, T-Bone. You will love it and adore it. It'll be magnificent. Call them up. Call up fisheries. Ask them what you can do. Ask them if you can get out and collect some little invertebrates, some mud, maybe a few little plants, something out of the water that you can set up a fish tank with. If they say no, then don't. But my hunch is they're not going to say no. They're going to say, well, you can do this and this and this. So then you can do it. Oh my. I have a place 3/4 hours away where we got freshwater barramundi, but they grew too large. Well, you can also find a lot of stuff in that water that there's those barramundi are living in. A lot of stuff that'll be good for your natural tank. So go there by all means and get some of the muck and the mud. Get some of the plants in there, some of the rocks, some of the water, some of whatever is there, and bring it back and put it in an outdoor tub and just observe it for a while. Nicole Rowe, I live at the seaside and can't have a reef aquarium. Generally speaking, you can take a limited number of reef creatures, one or two. They're not absolutely protected. They are protected from harvest for commercial purposes. Check with your local fisheries. You are allowed virtually everywhere in the world to collect very small amounts of native creatures. There are a few banned. For example, it's against the law in Florida to bring piranha into the state, whereas it's not against the law in Florida. There is nothing in Florida that is protected absolutely. Now, I may have to take that back. There is a little darter in northern Florida that's on the endangered species list. Endangered species are protected, but species that are not endangered are not protected from occasional harvest for personal use. Check with your local fisheries department. You will be amazed at what is legal. Paul C. is saying saltwater tanks is the same as freshwater. If you do it as a deep substrate, it is. It's identical. The only difference is the water. Now, I proved that with this tank. I took a freshwater tank, left the freshwater substrate in it, drained it down to the substrate, refilled it with salt water. And there we have a saltwater tank maintaining saltwater life. So it is, yeah, it's the same thing, just different water. And of course, you get different critters living in it. Nicole, I can only get sand and water, not fish, not plants. Where do you live, Nicole? Where would there be such a, and in maybe California, Hawaii, I don't know. Emily, my husband did not call the authorities first, but you know he is. Good. Is or well, good. New England Endler, only if you get caught. Well, there's always that, isn't there? Nicole wants a rig. Yeah, we cannot take rock, live rock, from the water here in Florida. Now, what we can do, however, is we can put our own rock in the water so long as it's not native Florida rock. If we can get rock from somewhere else, there's a fellow who sells rock out of Tampa Bay. Years ago, he brought a huge barge of rock from the Bahamas, and he dumped it in the mouth of Tampa Bay, and he harvests that. Now, he has a permit to do that. He actually leased the bottom to be able to put that rock there. But he's able to harvest that. It's his own rock. It's not native rock. You cannot harvest native rock, but you can harvest non-native rock that is growing all sorts of life on it. Katrina Nennig lives in Florida. what's she been saying? Although she deleted some stuff, I think. Oh, T-Bone, I've looked into it. The Gold Coast, one of the strictest in the country. If I go 2 to 3 hours away, I can collect from wild, salt, and fresh. Also, where I get my fish delivered from saltwater fish. It'd be worth a trip. I travel that kind of distance. I'll travel to the Keys to collect. That's a 6 hour drive. 2 to 3 hours would be close. The Everglades is 2 hour drive for me. I get down there occasionally. Not for a while, not since I've had the shop, but looking forward to going down soon. Also, I want to get up and visit Big City Bettas. She's about a 2 to 3 hour drive north of me. And there's a lot of really good collecting in North Florida as well. So looking forward to doing that. Lunar says, if I were a cichlid lover, I'd be in Florida all the time. Oh, I know. Virtually any cichlid from the world is in Florida. How do you do water changes for salt? Water changes, you change with natural seawater if you have access to it. For evaporation, you add RO water, spring water, distilled water, like that, rainwater. Paul C. Saltwater is free from the ocean. Costs zero to set up a saltwater tank. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. All right, we're at 10 o'clock, boys and girls. We need to make room for Jess. So we're going to run along. I'll be back on Wednesday. And we'll pick it up from there. Nice to be with you. Good to have you. It's been fun. It always is. Bless you and love you. And take care. For those of you who know Joshua over on Discord, Joshua is going into the hospital today to have ankle surgery. He'll be laid up for a while, so keep him in your prayers. And in a week or two, he'll be back on Discord. So come on over, visit, have fun, enjoy, make some new friends. It's terrific over there. Do come and have fun. Bye, James. Mermaid, take care. Somebody just came in. Carol Cox. Searball, hello, hello. Hello and goodbye, Carol. Nice to see you. Right. Looking to see if there's anything else I need to jump onto. Doesn't look like it. Thank you all. God bless. See you on Wednesday.